And to find the purity of the sample, what you do is you, one second. As to find the purity of the sample, you reacted with NaOH and ammonia gas is produced, and that ammonia gas is boiled off, and it is mixed with sulfuric acid. The sulfuric acid is in excess, so there's some that is unreacted at the end, and that sulfuric acid then reacted with NaOH. So that's what's happening. So first thing, sample kitna liya? 1.64 grams of impure NaNO3. So that's the first thing. There is 1.64 grams of the sample. Remember, it's impure, so you can't use that value because that's the incorrect value. And then he says it's reacted with dividers alloy. The ammonia was dissolved in this much sulfuric acid, 25 cm3 or 1 mole per dm cube. Can anyone tell me what are the moles of sulfuric acid over here? How do you find moles? Moles is concentration times volume. So what do you get for moles? 25 into 1 divided by 1000. So what do you get? क्या आ रहा है? जल्दी से बताओगे क्या आ रहा है इसका?
0.025.
So you're getting 0.025 moles. So this is 0.025 moles. So the ammonia produced is dissolved in sulfuric acid. We know the moles, and it's in excess. And then he says, when all the NH3 had dissolved, the resulting solution was titrated. So the unreacted H2SO4 was titrated with NaOH. And this much amount of NaOH was required. So can anyone quickly tell me what the moles are? Again, concentration times volume. 16.2 into 2 divided by 1000. What do you get?
.0324.
So you're getting 0.0234 moles, right?
324.
324 moles. So you're getting 0.0324 moles. So that's the moles of NaOH that are being used over here. So the first part of the question is, so remember, ammonia produced, dissolved in this much sulfuric acid, and then there's sulfuric acid that is left, and that is reacted with NaOH, and we know the moles of that as well. So calculate the moles of sulfuric acid in 25. We did that. We already did that. That's over here. And then he says, calculate the amount in moles of NaOH. We did that as well. And then he says, use your answer to calculate the amount in moles of H2SO4 that reacts with NaOH. So this part. Let's focus on this part. Okay, you've got NaOH. So using ratios, can you find out the moles of H2SO4? It's 2:1. So if the amount of NaOH is 0.0324 moles, what is the amount of H2SO4 that's reacting with it? What would you get for that? 2:1. So divide the moles by 2, what do you get?
0.0162.
So you're getting 0.0162 moles. These are the moles of sulfuric acid that you found that have not reacted. These were the moles that you added, and these are the moles that did not react in the previous reaction. So after that, he's going to ask you, use your answer, calculate the amount in moles of H2SO4 that reacted with the NH3. So now he's asking, what is the amount that is actually reacting with NH3? So remember, how much did you add? 0.025. So moles of H2SO4 added were 0.025 moles, right? Moles of H2SO4 left at the end are 0.0162. So how many moles actually took part in the reaction? I mean, these were the moles that were added, and these are the moles that are still left at the end of the reaction. So what are we getting?
(8.8 times 10 to the power of -3).
So it's 8.8. Reid, is this clear? Izan, is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Ahmed, clear hai?
जी sir.
Yes.
Achha, are reacting with NH. So the whole idea was that you added 0.025 moles and 0.0162 moles are still left at the end. जिसको वो फिर आगे titration में use कर रहा है. So that means you subtract the 2 and you get this 8.8 times 10 power minus 3 moles. So he's going to ask you about the moles of NH3 now. So over here, how many moles actually took part in the reaction? 8.8 times 10 power minus 3. Okay, these are the moles that are reacting with NH3. So it's 1:2. So you found the moles of sulfuric acid. You can find the moles of ammonia now. So kya karna hai? What you're going to do? The amount of moles of ammonia would be double that. So how many moles of ammonia do you get for that if you double this? Nikya quantity. Keep your calculators with you. Maha, do you have a calculator, Maas?
Yes, sir.
So जल्दी बताओ ना क्या है? You got this. Okay, the amount of moles of sulfuric acid that's actually taking part in the reaction over here is 8.8 times 10 power minus 3 moles. Use ratios and find what's the moles of ammonia then. Into 2 करो मुझे बताओ क्या आ रहा है सिद्धार्थ? What's the answer?
0.01.
0.0176.
So you're getting 0.0176 moles, ठीक है? So basically you've now been able to find the moles of ammonia that were produced in the previous reaction. The moles of ammonia and the moles of sodium nitrate are exactly the same. So remember all these moles, where did they come from? They came from the previous reaction. Okay, all these moles were produced in the previous reaction. So the moles of ammonia and the moles of NaNO3 have the same ratio. So this would be 0.0176 moles of NaNO3. So you found the amount of NaNO3 now using this. So I'm just going to repeat the whole question. Okay, what he did was he added 0.025 moles of sulfuric acid, and then there was some left, and he reacted it with NaOH. You found the moles of NaOH, and using ratios, you were able to figure out the moles of sulfuric acid that are left. The 0.025 there or 0.0162 are left. By subtracting the two values, you were able to figure out the amount of sulfuric acid that's actually taking part in the reaction over here is 8.8 times 10 power minus 3. By using ratios, you were able to figure out the moles of ammonia, 1:2. So and all that ammonia came from the previous reaction. So previous reaction were producing this much amount of ammonia. And it's 3:3, so the amount of sodium nitrate would be exactly the same. तो अब क्या काम कर सकते हैं? अब उससे mass पूछी होगी उसकी कि calculate the mass of sodium nitrate. So go and calculate the mass of, where's the question? So we have the moles, we can find the mass of sodium nitrate. What is mass? Mass is moles multiplied by the MR. So moles multiplied by the MR of sodium nitrate, which is going to be 23 plus 14 plus 16 into 3, that's 4862 ban jata hai. And that I think would be 85. So what do you get? What's the mass?
$1.496.
So you've now figured out that the impure sample, which was 1.64 grams, it had 1.496 grams of sodium nitrate in it. So the very last thing it's going to ask you about is the purity, percentage purity. So that would be 1.496 over 1.64 times 100. So what do you get for that? What's the percentage?
91.21. 91.22.
So you're going to get 91.2%. ठीक है? यहाँ पे ऑस्फा है वैसे? Just 1 second. अच्छा चलो यहाँ तक हम पहुंच गए. So we're done with the question. We found the percentage purity. So is this clear, this question?
Yes.
So remember, the question can have many parts, especially your practical questions. They would be very similar to this one. Is this clear? Reid, clear? Ahmed, is this clear?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So let's try and do more of these questions. ठीक है? अच्छा ये तो questions ही खत्म हो 94 पे होंगे. ठीक है, just a second. Page 94. So we've got more. These are titration questions, except that they're redox questions, which are kind of the same. So let's have a look at this question. So he says spathos is an iron ore that contains iron 2 carbonate. So remember he gave you this equation. So all the iron 2 ions are actually coming from this place over here. Okay, that is spathos. Okay, spathos has iron 2 ions. So the percentage of iron 2 carbonate can be determined by titration with potassium dichromate 6. So this is what happens. He takes 5 grams of sample of spathos and reacts it with an excess of hydrochloric acid and then filters. The filtrate was made up to 250 cm³ in a conical flask. So 5 grams of spathos, right? Remember, kya kahta? Spathos contains what thing? It contains Fe2 plus ions. It basically contains FeCO3. He turns it, dissolves it and filters it and makes the filtrate up to 250 cm³. So this is what he's doing. He puts it in a volumetric flask and dissolves it and turns it into a solution, and the solution is now containing Fe2 plus, and it's made up to 250 cm³. Usko distilled water or acid dal ke na he has dissolved it, and it has been turned into a solution. That's the first part. Okay, so the spathos has been turned into a solution by adding distilled water. Now he says that 25 cm³ of this sample. So he takes just a tiny amount. Kitna amount है? 25 cm³ of this sample is titrated. So remember, what does the solution contain? It contains Fe2 plus ions. So 25 cm³ sample of the standard solution required dichromate 6 solution for complete reaction. So from the top, you must know what dichromate 6 is. It's Cr2O7 2-. So top sena, he's doing this reaction. There's Fe2 plus in the flask, and he's reacting it with dichromate 6 from the top. And how much is required? Can you tell me the moles of this? Like how much is required? What are the moles? What's 27.3 into 0.02 divided by 1000? What do you get?
(5.46 times 10 to the power of -4).
So you're getting 5.46 times 10 power -4 moles, right? So these are the moles that you're getting for dichromate 6. Is this clear so far? Okay, 5 grams spathos, puts it, he adds acid and mixes it with distilled water, makes it into a solution that is 250 cm³. So it contains iron 2 plus ions. And that solution now is a 25 cm³ sample is taken and reacted with dichromate 6. So calculate the amount in moles of dichromate 6. We've found that, the first part. Next part, he's now going to ask you about the moles of Fe2 plus. So what is the ratio? It's 1:6. Look at the ratio, 1:6. So that means 1 dichromate 6 reacts with 6 Fe. So आपके पास कितने moles है? 5.46 times 10 power -4. So the amount of iron 2 ions would be 6 times that. So it would be 5.46 times 10 power minus 4. And you're going to multiply this by 6. So iske moles aa jayenge. What do you get for this?
3.27 into 10 raised to power minus 3.
अच्छा 3.27 into 10 power minus 3 moles. ठीक है. तो पता लग गए moles iron के. Is this clear so far? सारों को clear है? Maz, Izan, Amna. Sidra, is this clear? Reid?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
अच्छा, so अभी हम यहाँ तक पहुंचे. We've just found the moles of Fe2 plus in 25 cm. Now it's going to ask you about the 250 cm cube solution. वो कहेगा कि चलो इस 25 cm cube में you have these many moles. So how many moles would there be in 250 cm cube? So it's going. Remember, you didn't titrate the whole 250 cm cube. You just took a sample 25 cm cube. So 10 times ज़्यादा moles होंगे. I mean, you can either use ratios, like you can say that the 25 cm cube that you're titrating has these many moles. It has 3.27 times 10 power minus 3 moles of what? Of Fe2 plus. Right? ये इधर flask के अंदर. तो वो जो original flask था, which is 250 cm cube, how many moles would that have? You can either use ratios, find x, use x, cross multiply. लेकिन end में answer आएगा, you just multiply it by 10. ठीक है, it will be 3.27 times 10 power minus 3 into 250 divided by 25, which is basically multiplied by 10. And the moles
0.
would, ठीक है, मतलब -2 हो जाएगा. ठीक है, is this clear? ये भी clear है सारों को? You found the moles of Fe2 plus in this, so the moles of Fe2 plus over here is going to be 10 times more. सही है? Yes or no? Is this clear?
Yes.
So this would be 10 power minus 2 moles, right? अच्छा, ये आगे. अब क्या करना है कि अब पता नहीं क्या करना है. वो कहेगा कि FeCO3 की mass निकालो, right? So use your answer to calculate the mass of iron 2 carbonate. So remember, Fe moles and FeCO3 moles are going to be exactly the same. Because like it's 1:1, right? One FeCO3 produces solution mein, it produces one Fe2 plus, right? So whatever the moles of Fe2 plus, you'll have the same moles of FeCO3. So the moles of Fe2 plus and the moles of FeCO3 are going to be exactly the same. Like if you have 20 FeCO3, the amount of ions that would be produced would also be 20. So they're going to have the same moles. So we know the moles of Fe2 plus, those के भी वही moles होंगे, 3.27 times 10 power minus 2 moles.
क्यों सेम होंगे?
क्योंकि ये देखो ना आपके solution में, where did the iron ions come from? You dissolved FeCO3, right? मतलब ये तो clear है ना कि FeCO3 spathos में it
Yes.
had it. ठीक है. तो 1 FeCO3 produces how many Fe ions? 1, right? It's 1:1. मतलब अगर equation होती तो ठीक है. So it's 1:, मतलब if you have अगर if you have 10 atoms of FeCO3, how many Fe ions would be produced? 10, right? Clear है?
Yes sir, अगर मतलब हमारे जो CO3 है वो भी अगर 1 है तो वो भी 1 प्रोड्यूस होगा.
हाँ, लेकिन sometimes the ratio might be different, right? For example, अगर let's say he wasn't talking about FeCO3, he was talking about something else, like Fe3PO4 twice. ठीक है, iron एक से फॉर्मूला मैंने सही बनाया. ठीक है, looks fine. अच्छा, तो इस केस में the ratio, like if you knew the moles of Fe2 plus, right? Then the ratio would not be 1:1, because one of this will produce how many Fe ions? 3 of them, right? So it's going to be 1:3 in this case. Is this clear?
Yes sir.
अच्छा, तो उस केस में ना, if you knew the moles of Fe2 plus, you would have to divide by 3 to find the moles of this thing. But in this case, it's 1:1. Like 1 FeCO3 would produce just 1 Fe2 plus. So इसलिए the moles of iron 2 carbonate would be exactly the same. All you have to do is to find mass is multiplied by the MR, which would be Fe is 55.8. And remember, take the exact value in the pure table that's given in the pure table. Achha, carbon is 12. and oxygen is 16. Well, carbonate would be 60 basically. So can anyone quickly tell me what is the mass of iron carbonate that you're getting?
$3.79.
It's coming out to be 3.79 grams. To start with, what was the mass of spathos that you took? You took it as 5 grams, right? So now you have to find the percentage of iron. So that's so spathos contains iron carbonate in the sample of spathos. So remember that at the very beginning you took 5 grams of spathos, right? So it's going to be in 200, and you'll find the percentage. What are you getting for this?
75.8.
Okay, that's going to be 75.8%. Achha, just remember, okay, I'll just try and make sure, okay, did I make any mistakes here? Just remember, okay, if the question is showing accuracy up till 3 significant figures, okay, 25.0, every number that you write should be accurate up till 3 significant figures. Even if you're getting a value of like, even if you have to write 5, okay, you're not just going to write 5, you're going to write it as 5.00. Okay, that shows accuracy. Okay, that shows ke you know ke second decimal place like you know it's 0. Uske baad nahi pata ke kya hai. You know that this is 5.00. After that, you're not sure what it is. It could be 5.001 or 5.002, but you're sure up till this point. So just remember, okay, follow the accuracy in the question. Even when you're doing showing the working, okay, just don't write 5. Make sure, ye maine galat kiya hai. I wrote it as 60, but this should have been written as 60.0. Okay, so make it a habit. Either Bina, I shouldn't have written 25. I should have written it as 25.0. So make sure you try and make it a habit. Okay, if the question is dealing with everything up till 3 significant figures, showing all the values up till 3 significant figures, there's actually one with 4 significant figures. But remember, your answers should always be accurate up till the least significant figure accuracy, which is 3 over here. So let's do another one. Let's see. Let's try and do this one. So he's saying he wants us to calculate X over here. Here there's a Molar salt, which is this. No idea what that is. But he wants us to calculate. He wants us to calculate X. X represents the number of moles of water in 1 mole of the salt. So the student wanted to determine the value of X. So 0.78 grams of the hydrated salt. So this entire thing, he's using 0.784 grams. Okay, that is the amount that he's using. All the solution, and he makes it into a solution. And then he says all the solution was titrated with 0.02 mole per dm cube potassium magnate. And so the concentration and the volume is given. So iske moles bata do. And I'll just write the balanced equation as well. Can anyone tell me the moles, concentration times volume? How many moles of MnO4 are you using? (20 × 0.02 divided by 1000). What do you get?
4 times 10 to the power of negative.
I said, okay, 4 times.
No, -4.
So you're getting -4. So you found the moles of MnO4. So calculate, that's the first part. Calculate the ions, magnate 7 ions moles. So we did that. TK, we already did that. And then he's going to ask you about the Fe2 plus. So it's going to be 5 times that. It's 1:5. So find the moles of this. What would be this multiplied by 5? What do you get?
2 times 10 to the power of -3.
So that is 2 times 10 power negative 3 moles. And so far, what we have done is we know the mass of Mohr's salt and we have figured out the moles of iodines, right? Acha, pehle find out the ratio. What's the ratio of Mohr's salt to iodines? One of the salt contains how many ions? Just one of them, right? So what's the ratio? Like one salt contains one ion. Is this clear?
Yes.
ठीक है, बाकियों को clear है सब? Afin, is this clear? Raid, is this clear? Ahmed, clear है? Maz? Okay, look at this. Look at the salt. Okay, if you have one molecule of the salt, it only contains one iodine. Like if you mix it in water, it's going to just produce more. It only has one iodine. ठीक है? Sulfate होते तो वो दो produce होते because there are two of them. Ammonium होते तो they would also have been twice because there are two of them in the formula. But iodines, there's only going to be one. So the ratio is 1:1. So you found the moles of Fe2 plus, which is 2 times 10 power minus 3 moles, right? So the moles of Mohr's salt would be exactly the same. 2 times 10 power minus 3 moles, because we know that in the solution, all the iodines came from Mohr's salt. And the ratio of the iodines to Mohr's salt is 1:1. So that means, so is he asking for calculate the amount of iodines? And then he says, so now he's saying calculate the formula mass of this thing.
Sir,
Yes.
the question में इधर लिखा हुआ है कि 0.784 grams जो था मतलब वो hydrated salt था जब dissolved in water तो उसका mass ज़्यादा नहीं हो जाएगा जब dissolved in water हो जाएगा
हाँ तो बेशक ज्यादा हो जाए लेकिन अब तो वो लेकिन आपने डाला कितना था 0.784 डाला था ना
जी फिर आपने होल को सर्कल किया हुआ आपने ऊपर लिखा 0.784 grams सारे का
नहीं वो तो इस सारे का है ना वाटर में ऐड करोगे वाटर में ऐड करोगे तो मतलब वाटर में ऐड करोगे तो फिर तो वो सॉल्यूशन बन जाएगा ना
यस सर
लेकिन जो आपने ओरिजिनली सॉल्ट डाली है वो तो यही डाली है ना लाइक अगर आप 1 चम्मच नमक डालते हो पानी के अंदर NaCl
ओ ठीक है
तो मतलब अब अगर मिक्स भी कर दो लेकिन डाली तो आपने 1 चम्मच ही है ना ठीक है
सर
अच्छा सो remember moles पता लग गया ये clear है we found the moles of Mohr's salt ठीक है now he's asking us to find the formula mass so basically he's asking us to find the MR तो moles क्या होते हैं moles is mass divided by MR right so what is MR MR को उधर ले जाओ moles को इधर ले आओ so it's mass which is 0.784 and you divide by the moles which are 2 times 10 power minus 3 what do you get what is the MR that you're getting for this molecule
3.92 into 10 raised to power minus 4
nahi isko make sure you use your calculators properly put brackets around this ab solve karo be careful with your calculator you have to instruct your calculator very carefully कि करना क्या है so what do you get for this 0.784 divided by this thing
392 sir
392
अच्छा you're getting 392 इसका मतलब है कि इस पूरी चीज की जो MR है ना that's 392 अब वो एंड में कहेगा कि इसकी फॉर्मूला मैथ तो उसने कह दिया था कि निकाल लो अब वो कहेगा x निकालो so we know this entire thing is 392 अब ये पूरी मैथ करो कि क्या होगा 392 start adding this up NH4 twice that's वो मैं कर लेता हूँ N14 plus H is 1 that's 18 into 2 plus Fe you know is what अच्छा actually exactly 392 नहीं होगा it must be something कोई साथ थे numbers
no sir
अच्छा exact है so 55.8 अच्छा then you have SO4 which is 32 plus 16 into 4 that's 96 into 2 SO4 twice है the SO4 की अच्छा तो it's ये मैं brackets में डाल रहा हूँ clarity के लिए and then there are X water molecules so water is 18 We have no idea how many water molecules, so that's x. इस सारे को add up करके it should come out to be equal to 392. Solve this. Find what x is. मतलब ये इसका कर रहे हैं
6.01 आ रहा है ऐसे x का
6.01 and that उसको round कर लो तो that would be 6. So that means the amount of water molecules in 1 mole of the salt would be 6. ठीक है, that's so that is going to be the answer to this question. Clear here?
yes sir
So that's x. I said remember practice. You can make sure practice as much as you can. That's the only way you can solve these questions. Remember, the MCQs are not. I mean, you can skip an MCQ. That's just 1 mark. But you can't skip this question. Make sure you practice. सबसे ज़्यादा जो important question है moles के लिए titration वाले these big questions that you're getting. We still have time, so we can quickly do this one. We've got S2Cl2, and he's saying it is decomposed by water forming sulfur and a mixture of hydrochloric acid and sulfurous acid. So when 2.7 grams of so this is what's happening. Case S2Cl2, I'm going to write the equation here. S2Cl2, उसे बल्कि end में कहा है balance equation निकालो, is decomposed by water. So water is added. I mean this part, and it forms sulfur and a mixture of hydrochloric acid and sulfurous acid. So sulfurous acid is H2SO3, right? तो ये बन रहा है. करना क्या? What is the amount in moles of S2Cl2? तो moles तो निकल आएंगे आराम से. What do you get? 2.7 divided by 32 into 2 plus Cl2 35 into 2. जल्दी से बताओ क्या आ रहा है? How many moles are we getting for this?
Zero point zero two.
0.02 moles. So that means S2Cl2 is 0.02 moles. Then he says 0.96 grams of sulfur are produced. So find the moles of sulfur. So how many moles? I mean, this is 0.02 moles, right? So how many? So I want to figure out the moles of sulfur now. So sulfur is moles is mass divided by mR. So it's or AR, which is 32 in this case. So what do I get? I get 0.03 moles, right? Can I even do this? 0.96 divided by 32. Sulfur is 32.
0.03.
So I'm getting 0.03 moles. So in part number 2, he's asking for the ratio. Like he's asking, what is the amount in moles of sulfur produced from 1 mole of S2Cl2? So the ratio is 2:3, right? Or 0.02 ratio, 0.03. That's the ratio. So it's 2:3, right? So 1 will produce how much according to the ratio? That would be what? I mean, you're getting 2:3, right? So what will 1 produce? I mean, 2 produces 3. 2 of this produces 3 of this. So 1 of this will produce 1.5. I mean, you can use X and then try and figure out. Is this clear? You clear? Raid, is this clear?
इनका रेशियो 1:1 नहीं है 1:1 नहीं है दोनों
नहीं अच्छा sorry ये equation जो है this is not a balanced equation. ठीक है मतलब I have no idea उसने end में कहा है कि balanced equation बनाओ ठीक है. So the ratio is coming out to be 2:3, right? मतलब ये तो clear है ना, the ratio is 2:3 actually. क्योंकि उसके moles S2Cl2 के जो moles थे ना that came out to be 0.02. The sulfur moles came out to be 0.03. So that means it's 2:3. So equation के अंदर जो ratio होगा ना that is going to be 2:3. 3. तो इसलिए वो एंड में कह रहा है कि कंस्ट्रक्ट अ बैलेंस इक्वेशन. नाउ इट वुड बी इजी टू बैलेंस क्योंकि यू नो कि दिस इज 2 एंड दिस वाज 3. सल्फर्स कितने हो गए? 4 हो गए. तो there's going to be 1 sulfur there. Cls कितने हो गए? 4 हो गए. तो there's going to be 4 HCls. H total कितने हो गए? That's 4 plus 2 over here, so that's going to be 3 H2Os. और ऑक्सीजन भी बैलेंस्ड है. ठीक है, तो ये उसने स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट दे दिया था क्योंकि वरना ये इक्वेशन बैलेंस करना थोड़ा मुश्किल है. इट वुड बी वेरी हार्ड टू बैलेंस.
मतलब हमने इनके मोल्स से इनका रेशियो निकाला.
हाँ,
ठीक है.
मतलब वो इसके मोल्स दे दिए थे, इसकी भी मास दे दी थी. वी फाउंड द मोल्स ऑफ दिस क्योंकि इसलिए फिर उसने एंड में कहा कि बैलेंस इक्वेशन बनाओ क्योंकि इस इक्वेशन को अगर वैसे बना भी लो ना, इट्स वेरी हार्ड टू बैलेंस. यू कैन ट्राई इट बैलेंस ही नहीं होती. ठीक है, तो इसलिए उसने हिंट दे दी थी कि इसके 0.02 मोल्स हैं और इसके 0.03 मोल्स हैं. सो यू फिगर आउट कि भी ये 2:3 है, यानी इसके अगर 2 होंगे तो इसके 3 होंगे. तो आपको होल नंबर रेशियो पता लग गया कि इनका रेशियो क्या होगा. तो इक्वेशन के अंदर वो रेशियो डाल दो और फिर बाकियों को उसके हिसाब से बैलेंस कर लो. ठीक है, तो वो फिर आराम से बैलेंस हो जाती है. इज दिस क्लियर? सही है. इज दिस क्वेश्चन क्लियर?
Yes.
चलो ठीक है, लेट्स कंटिन्यू टुमारो देन. ठीक है, ओके एवरीवन, टेक केयर. हाफिज.
Love.
Allah Hafiz.
हाफिज.